Hey there, welcome to the show. My name is Cary Weston. This is the Practical Marketing Podcast. Glad you're here. Today's episode, one of my favorites to talk about, and I call it Marketing Priorities, Clarity Circles. It's built around a philosophy. It's interesting. It's built around a philosophy that I said by mistake 25 plus years ago. And I've got an article that was in a Maine business. We have a Maine business magazine newspaper here called Maine Biz, and I have the date. This would happen to be the one that's in my hand is from 2004. The one I'm thinking of is 2001. I grabbed the wrong one. No worries there. But the start of my business, they did an article on my new agency and a phrase. They asked me what my philosophy was, and I hadn't. My business was. Let me just tell you about my business when I started. I had a plastic folding table from Walmart in a back bedroom. I had a Hewlett Packard, I think it was, or a Packard Bell computer, and I had a dog. Right, that was my entire company. My entire company was a plastic table from Walmart, Packard Bell computer, and a dog. And the dog didn't do much, right? And they asked me what and by the way, they're interviewing me. You've got to understand that this room that I'm in, this bedroom that I'm in, is about a 10 by 12 or 12 by 12 at best. And this business magazine is here interviewing me in this room. And so they're taking a picture, and there I am standing in front of my Packard Bell. The dog didn't make the picture, but they asked me what my philosophy was, and on the spot I said, persuasive and prepared. And they said, what's that mean? And I said, well, persuasive is all the things that we do to get attention, and prepared is all the things we do to make the most of the attention we earn. That was 2001. And that off the cuff comment must have come from somewhere, because fast forward until now, 25 years later, and it becomes the essence of most of what I do. Persuasive and prepared. Nothing like an on-the-spot question to put together a philosophy for your entire business and what turns out to be my entire career. And the agency, I had an agency with a business partner. I had a wonderful business partner, a friend of mine, Elizabeth Sutherland. We had an ad agency. The ad agency still exists. It's called Sutherland Weston, very creative name. She got to be first in the name, and I got to be president. So that's how that works. We had a wonderful partnership for 20 years. And then I decided it was time for my next chapter. And so she bought me out last year. But that persuasive and prepared, I think our agency at one point had 17 or 18 employees. You know how businesses flux in sizes. But that one phrase came off the cuff in a 12 by 12 bedroom with a plastic table and a dog. And for me, though, I was king of the world. That article came out, and I was real, right? Back then, there's not a lot that a small one-person company can get for exposure. So that was great. So something worked. Persuasive and prepared. So that's what I bring to you today, is defining your marketing priorities. I also call it my clarity circles, because I drew some circles, right? And I talked like a target. The circles get bigger and bigger as they go out, concentric circles as they go out. Go to practicalmarketingshow.com. I'll put the article that has some more information about this. You can see the wonderful graphic. I'm looking at it now. It's handwritten by me on an iPad and colored in with that pen color. So there's some wonderful, wonderful art here, Picasso-esque kind of stuff. So what are we talking about when we talk about persuasive and prepared and clarity circles? Well, that definition is held true for me 25 years later. Persuasive is all the things that we do to get attention. So this is the look at me stuff. Okay, so this is the art. This is the spending money or getting attention or advertising, whatever it might be, the promotional stuff, right? And then the prepared is, are we going to be able to make best use of that attention that we get? And for me, I always felt, and I still do to this day, in fact, most of the work that I do with clients is on the prepared side. But I really feel that prepared is the most valuable effort that you can put into a business. And here's why. I always said, let's treat this as if someone's going to find us anyway. Okay. What happens when they find us anyway? If we don't spend $1, yell from anywhere, make any noise, do no promotion at all, and someone finds us, how prepared are we to make a sale? How prepared are we to build confidence? How prepared are we to build trust? And that's my guiding philosophy right now in businesses of all sizes, is how prepared are you if someone finds you anyway, right? And that's really where I think the most value comes in. And so really quickly at a glance, if you think of a target, we've got a really small, tight bullseye circle in the middle, and then you've got rings that get bigger and bigger as it comes out. My philosophy is this: the smaller and tighter the circle, the more important it is to take care of before you move out to the other circles. Okay, so when I talk about clarity circles, it's this concentric set of rings that are getting bigger, and the smaller and tighter the circle, the more important that we take care of it. So, side story that came up as I was talking about Persuasive and Prepared. One of my first jobs out of college, I was 21 years old, 22 years old, and I was running, there's a rent-to-own franchise called Rent-A-Center, and I was running a store. I graduated with a business degree, and I found myself running a store and in retail. And the regional manager came, and I told him that I wanted to run some ads. I think it would be a good idea if we spent some money and ran some ads. Of course, back then it was probably newspaper ads or something on the radio, but I want to spend some money. And he looked around and he said, "Why would you want to do that?" And I said, "Well, we've got to bring more people to the store." And he said, "So you want to bring more people into the store so they can see the dirty carpet and the missing hole in the shelf?" And he pointed out all the things that were in the showroom that were incorrect or not at its best presentation, right? So what he said was, so you want to bring more people to make a bad impression. You want to spend my money and bring people here so they can get a negative impression. And that stuck with me. Years later, that stuck with me. Now, I wasn't in retail very long, and that certainly doesn't pertain. The retail thing doesn't pertain, but the analogy that he gave is, if you're going to bring people in, put your best foot forward, right? Be ready to impress, to fulfill the promises, to do what it is that they think you're going to be able to do. Persuasive and prepared. I think that's probably where it came from when the reporter asked. So now let's take a look at what these concentric circles mean. Okay, so the smallest, tightest is what I call the core, and there's three things in the core: customer, offer, and promise, which is essentially by saying, what do you do, who do you do it for, and why, right? So knowing your value, knowing who you serve, right? Who are your customers? What do they care about? What do they feel? What do you offer? What problem do you solve? What promise are you giving, right? And how do you do it? Those are they seem simple, don't they? They seem like, yeah, of course I know that. But you know what? A lot of people don't. And a lot of people haven't taken the time to think about it. And the more that we think about customers, everything should revolve around customers. We should be obsessed about the customer. They should be the hero. Episode 2, I talked about that, and one of the biggest mistakes is, who is the hero, right? The customer should be the hero. This is the we versus you. We want more yous in our copy when we write than we's, right? We don't want to be bragging, all about the customer. So we've got to figure out who the customer is. We've got to figure out what they want, what their frustrations are, what their pain points are, what they look like, words they say, questions they have, all that kind of stuff, right? We've got to figure out what our value is. What's our differentiator? What's our value? What are we offering, right? And that kind of thing. So that's really, really important that you figure out, because everything else really does not come down to that foundation, right? If we get that clear, that we know, then we can do something about it. And really, marketing is all about creating positive impressions in people you haven't met yet, right? It's making a case for you to be the option that they choose when they need it. The next is systems, okay? So once we figure this information out, and by the way, when we again, there's practicalmarketingshow.com. You can see some more resources on this. But once we figure out the customer, we want to figure out what the customer needs. What are they asking for? What components go into their buying decision, right? What are their fears and anxieties? What do they need to know? What do they need to see? What do they need to hear, right? All of that stuff. So it's not just checking a box saying, yes, we know the customer and moving forward. So how is it that we can show that we know who they are? How do we demonstrate the understanding that we know what they're looking for, what they're thinking about, right? And that's where content exercises come in. That's where we create resources. I've shared in the previous episodes that, marketing's main customer is sales. Marketing's main job is to make the sales easier, right? Shorten the sales cycle, make it easier for sales to do their job. And we do that by showing that we understand who these customers are, what they want to see, feel, right, and experience. So systems is the next circle out. So essentially what we're saying is, do we have systems in place to do a couple different things? Number one, I consider the website to be a system. The website is a system where it's a collection of, it's a display of, it's where people find all this stuff that we talked about in the core, right? That's our messaging. That's our copy. That's our content. That's our answers. We've got to have some place that they find it. Do we have a way to collect information? Okay. And I don't mean Post-it notes and scratch pads. I mean, are we finding a way to get people to tell us who they are even before they're ready to buy? So are they giving you their email address? Is there webinars that you're putting on? Is there a collection system? Is there an email inquiry? Are your contact forms going somewhere? Free samples, whatever it might be. Is there a way that we're collecting information, right? Information in, that's one thing. And then information out. For instance, do you have an email program? Do you have your own list? Now, this is important. This is very important. And there'll be another episode on this particular topic in and of itself. But there is a difference between renting and owning a list. Renting a list is whenever you advertise or you put faith in someone else's system and audience, right? You're renting their audience. So for instance, if you buy a television ad, essentially what you're doing is you're writing a check to that TV station and you're asking them, can I rent your audience for 30 seconds, right? They're not going to run that ad after you stop paying, right? So you're paying for the privilege of using their audience. So that's in a later circle. In this circle, I'm talking about with information collections and email programs and whatnot. This is our audience. So this is information of people that have given us their information so we can talk to them. And now we collect it and we talk to them. It may take us a little bit of time and effort to get it, but once we get it, we can use it over and over again without having that same effort. You see what I mean? So owning that list, owning that information, having people give you essentially their email address or outreach, whatever it might be, but you want to build your own list. And then you want to have some way, some program, some system that allows you to communicate to that list that you're building, okay? So circle one was the core. Circle two is systems, which includes the website. How do we collect information, the ways we collect information? How do we store it and nurture it? That we're building our own list. And then how do we use that list, right? That system. Okay. The third circle out is what I call organic awareness efforts, okay? Organic awareness. And this could be articles that we write. This could be search engine optimization, effort that you're putting into optimizing your website and your content. These could be videos that you create. Maybe they're on social. Maybe they're on YouTube. Maybe they are on your website, right? Maybe you're doing news releases. Maybe you're doing promotional things, sending it out, creating articles for other people's magazines or blog posts or whatnot. Maybe you're appearing on podcasts, social media. So these are organic efforts, meaning if there is a cost, it's minimal. And it's most usually your time. But these are things that you and your team are doing to get the word out on your company. And whether you're adding value to a customer's needs or whether you're promoting yourself, right? These are organic efforts. So SEO, for instance, you may pay somebody to be optimizing. You may be doing it yourself. But what you're doing is you're investing in your own things again. Okay, so there's a similarity here, right? There's a consistency here. There's a connecting fiber here where we're investing in our own thing. The first three circles is really investing in us. Okay, we're not spending money on advertising and promotion at this point. We're spending money on us. We're building the infrastructure. And why do I do that? Well, because the fourth circle is called paid awareness efforts. So the third circle was organic awareness. The fourth is paid awareness. And this is where we're spending money. Okay, so back to when I was running that rent-a-center store, that retail store, right? I'm going to pay money. If I'm going to pay money, I want to make sure that I put my very best foot forward when someone opens the door and comes in. Same here. I want to make sure when they get to the website, they see what they need to do. I have ways of collecting the information. I have ways of maximizing the money that I'm spending, the effort that I'm spending, the resources that I'm putting into my marketing, okay? So that fourth circle is the paid awareness efforts, okay? And again, practicalmarketingshow.com, you can see this article. So persuasive and prepared is really just a way by saying, if you are going to spend money, let's make it worth it, right? And so all of the clients that I have and all of the engagements that I do, I really focus on that core, the investment of the infrastructure, the investment of things. This is where I stand. If there's one thing that I want to say here, this is the most important thing to me in all the work that I do. Can we do something once? Can we invest in something once and get benefit from it over and over again without spending the same time, money, and effort, right? Can we invest in ourselves, in the foundation of what we are and do and who we serve, so that we can use it over and over again and continue to get benefit? That's the key to persuasive and prepared. The prepared side is the most important, by far, the most important effort, time, money, resources that you can spend in your business. Can I do something once and get value from it over and over again? Because I'm promising you there isn't an advertising platform in the world that's going to keep running your ads if you're not paying for it. But there certainly is benefit that you can get time and time again from the work that you put into your core elements that will pay you back without the need to do the money, time, and effort over and over again. Okay? So these are my clarity circles, right? These are my marketing priorities. This is the advice that I would give you if you're starting a business today. Focus on this. If your business is 50 years old, go back and test yourself. Do I have this? I promise you there are many things in existing businesses that we're spending time and money on to bring and attract people to something that's not putting your best foot forward. And that's where money and time gets wasted, and that's where we become inefficient, right? So let's tighten that up. Hope that was helpful. Marketing priorities, clarity circles, persuasive and prepared. Okay, the podcast website, practicalmarketingshow.com. Some resources there I'm going to share with you if you want to check this out, some articles that get deeper into this. And of course, you can see my spectacular Picasso drawing of those circles with the red and the blue scribbles. All right, good. Okay, I hope that was helpful for you. Until we talk again, be well, okay? See ya.